To the Monday, May 11th, 2026 City Council meeting for the City of Lamar. I'm Mayor Kirk Crespin. You know, this week is going to be a fun-filled, packed, busy week for a lot of people. We start off with Friday with the Chamber, or I guess it's a hamburger fry that they're having at the Chamber on Friday. So hopefully you'll be able to stop by there for lunch. And then Friday night, we have the No Booze Cruise, the poker run. There's a drone show. Is that Friday night or Saturday night?
That is Saturday.
Saturday night.
Saturday
Is the drone show. Saturday, we have the Lamar Days Parade. We have the Lamar Days Hot Rod Run, skating tournament. We have all kinds of different activities happening this weekend here in Lamar, Colorado. So I encourage you, get out, get involved, enjoy it. Looking at the weather, it looks like we're going to have a great weekend as well. So the weather should work with us, and hopefully we'll have a great weekend to celebrate our community at the 140, is it the 145th or 140th?
140th.
140th. Making sure I didn't get that wrong. So hopefully you can get out there and enjoy it. I appreciate it. And we're going to get on with our meeting tonight. We'll start off with the invocation. We have Jim Schleining here tonight to start with our invocation.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day that you've given us. We thank you for the recent moisture you've provided, and we pray that you continue to provide us moisture. Tonight, Lord, we ask that you would be with this town. Lord, we thank you for the town and the things that it stands for, and we just pray that you would be with the leaders, the council, and the mayor, and others. Lord, we just pray that you would help them to make wise decisions that would benefit the community. We pray that you would be with them in these decisions, that they might be the correct ones, and that the town might grow and prosper from them. In Jesus' name, amen.
Councilman Jenkins, would you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the time is now 7:02 p.m. I'll call the meeting to order. Roll call.
Joe Gonzalez.
Here.
Mark Headley.
Here.
Jerry Jenkins.
Here.
Kurt Crespin.
Here.
David Zavala.
Here.
Brad Johnson.
Here.
Brent Bates.
Here.
Kristen Swartz.
Here.
Mitch Hannes.
Here.
Lance Clark.
Here. Okay, we've had an opportunity to review the agenda. Were there any items that needed to be moved or added?
Yes, number 5, we're going to pull that item and schedule that for a future meeting.
Okay, so we need to pull item number 5. Do we need to vote on that?
Yes, we do.
So we will need the removal of item number 5 from the agenda, and we will need a motion for that acceptance of the agenda minus number 5.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda minus number 5. All those in favor signify with an eye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Unanimous in favor of.
Okay, moving right along, we have the consent agenda. I did not see any items that need to be separated out and voted on separately. Did anybody else?
I did not.
Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as submitted. All those in favor signify with an eye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Unanimous in favor of.
Okay. Next item is the public comment portion of this meeting. During this portion of the meeting, anyone may speak on any subject that does not appear on the agenda. Individual speakers are limited to 3 minutes each, and that is at the discretion of the council. Is there anyone here tonight that would like to speak on an item that's not on the agenda? Okay, seeing none, I'll just remind everybody, as always, this is your time to come in and talk to the council on an item, whether it's water issues or issues with pets or dogs or whatever it may be. If you have a concern that you want to address with the council, this is your time of the meeting when you can come in and discuss that. So hopefully somebody will take advantage of that if you have any concerns. With that said, we're going to move on to the reports and correspondence portion of our meeting, starting off with the city treasurer's report. Kristen?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I didn't really have a grant update tonight, but I did want to let council know that we did have a nice party for Tony, who had been with the city of Lamar for 32 years. We had a retirement party on Friday, and that was her last day. We did hire a lady named Kylie Parker. She is taking Tony's place. She was able to train with Tony for a couple of weeks and do one utility billing with her before she left. So that was good. So she has now taken over, and we're taking things slow, but she's going to start with utility billing, and we're going to let her get to be an expert on that before we move her into anything else. So, and also today it went into effect that I promoted Tess Camp to be my deputy city treasurer. We're restructuring that role and have a new job description for that. She will be actually managing the two staff in the office, the AP clerk and the utility billing clerk. So it's an exciting time in our office, and I'm proud of our team, and just wanted to let you know. So we have a new gal. If you get in the building, stop by and say hi to her. So, and some changes that we have made. So we're looking forward to moving forward.
Okay, great.
And I don't know, Tyler, I can give you a quick update on that. We're working on our second pilot in the timekeeping system. Our next pilot, as soon as it ends, we'll do a dual payroll, and we're excited about that. It's going to make payroll processing a lot easier to process. Still working on a few things. Haven't heard from Clara again on the flat file that we're needing from them to make utility billing work like it's supposed to, but we're still hopeful that that will be coming soon. So working through some things on that and getting some reports built for light and power. So we're working through that for utility billing. I think the sales tax is going good. Linda could probably speak more about that. She's been in charge of that. And we're getting ready to do accounts receivable. So things are moving forward, and everything seems to be settling down just a little bit. We did get the audit extended till September 30th. So that gave us a little bit more time to get through some of the new stuff and get reports that Ronnie needs to be able to do a good audit. So he'll be coming in July to do our on-site. But we're continuing to work with him and getting things as we move along here and get them prepared. So.
Okay. Any questions from the council for the treasurer?
I don't have any.
Okay. Seeing none, we will move on to the city clerk's report. Linda?
So Kristen had mentioned the sales tax module in Tyler. So right now, it's in Tyler's hands. They're trying to work out some bugs with the interest rate. It's not calculating correctly for when people file late. So they haven't given me the dates in June as to when our next meeting is, but hopefully by the next meeting, I'll have a better update.
Okay.
That's all I have.
All right. Any questions for the clerk?
I don't have any.
Seeing none, we'll move on to the city administrator's report.
All right, thank you. This is going to be a long one. We have a lot of events this weekend. So I will try to make it quick. We have Lamar Days, the 15th and the 16th, with the Chamber Kickoff Barbecue on Friday from 11 to 2. The No Booze Cruise starts at Sonic at 6 p.m. The Lamar Days Parade, Saturday, May 16th, 10 a.m. starts at the Prowers County Market, goes west to 2nd Street, and then south on 2nd Street to Willow Creek Park. I do have a question. If what council members are going to be riding in the council float this year? Do you?
I'll be there.
Okay.
I'll be there.
I'll be there.
Okay. So,
I should be there.
okay.
Yeah.
Everybody good. All right. We will make sure that we have a really nice float for you and very comfortable this year. We have the Rod Run and Car Show at Willow Creek Park Saturday from 10 to 4. Stories in the Sky is a drone show Saturday, May 16th, starting at about 8:30 p.m. That's to celebrate Lamar's 140th, and that'll be at the fairgrounds. It's very exciting to announce that we will have the 1907 Lamar fire engine for Lamar Days out at Willow Creek Park.
Nice.
So please come out and see that. That doesn't come out very often, I understand. There will be overflow parking available for Lamar Days in the field to the east of Willow Creek Park, kind of east from like where the swimming pool is in that farm field. The property owners allowed us to get in there, and you'll enter that parking area on the northwest corner of that area. There'll be signs and some caution tape and stuff. So shouldn't have a parking problem this year. Pool day at the Lamar Public Pool is on Friday, May 29th at 1 p.m., 1 to 5 p.m., sponsored by Lamar High School DECA. Entry is by donation through canned food or money. So that'll be fun to get the swimming pool warmed up and get out there. All proceeds go to the Sparrow House Ministries that day. The 2026 Lake Hasty Extreme Cardboard Boat Regatta is Saturday, May 30th at 11 a.m. in Hasty. Contact John Martin Reservoir State Park for more details on how to enter. June 6th at the Holly Fairgrounds is the 5th annual Holly Demolition Derby. General admission tickets are $10. Kids 5 and under are free. Pit passes are $30 for all ages. U.S. Congresswoman Boebert will be hosting her mobile office hours right here in this room, the City Council chambers, on Monday, May 18th from 11 till noon. So if you want to meet with Council Member Boebert, she'll be here. Really interesting news and really good for the Lamar Police Department. We're having some of our police officers teach at law enforcement academies to help Lamar Police Department become more known and become more recognizable in the law enforcement profession. So we're excited that Chief Ritter was able to make that happen. The library will be closed until noon on Saturday, May 16th, so that we can all attend the Lamar Days Parade. And let's see. I think that's it for the updates. I do have one more. The Colorado Municipal League offers credits, university credits for council members and elected officials when they attend like regional meetings or annual meetings. So I wanted to just give an update on how many credits everybody has. Councilmember Bates has 24 credits. Councilmember Gonzalez has 30 credits, which is the first level for recognition this year. So I hope we'll see you there. Councilmember Jenkins has 25. Councilmember Zavala has 22. And Mayor Crespin has 67 credits for participation. So super excited about that. So we'll be looking forward to that.
So there's supposed to be, I received a letter saying that once I get 60, it give me the leadership certificate, and the foundation certificate is the 30 credits. So you're supposed to be receiving a foundation certificate as well.
Well, wonderful. I will not be attending CML this year.
Okay. I will gladly accept on your behalf,
Thank you.
and I will give a very warm and welcome acceptance.
Great speech, great
Okay.
speech, great speech.
All right. And with
Okay.
that winds up my report, unless you have questions for me.
I don't have any. Thank you.
Thanks.
Anybody else?
I did have a quick question.
Mhm.
You had talked about parking. Was that for the Lamar Days event?
Yes, on Saturday.
And were you describing at the intersection of Willow Valley Drive and First Street, the field right there?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
So, and there'll be signs posted for people to see where to go.
Yep, there'll be signs posted. The entrance will be at the northwest corner of that field, which is basically the north end of where you see it on First Street.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right, sounds good. And the location of the parade, you said starts at where?
Starts at the Prowers County Market,
Mhm.
goes west to Second Street, and then south on Second Street to Willow Creek Park.
Okay. So it is on Second Street.
Mhm.
All right. Well, if there's no other questions, we will move to the reports and correspondence from the council. Start off with Joe. Joe?
This time I don't have anything to bring forth.
Okay. Mark?
Okay, from the Senior Center, the members of American Legion Post 71 in Lamar, Colorado are planning to install crosses at Fairmont and Riverside cemeteries. The crosses will stand 3 foot tall and be 1 foot wide, and it will include a small attachment to hold American flags on Memorial Day and other appropriate occasions. The purpose of this project is not only to honor our veterans, but also make it easier for volunteers to place American flags at the correct sites. And volunteers will also be able to locate veterans' graves without using a map. They do need permission of veterans' families to install these crosses unless the veteran or he or she is buried in the veteran's side of the cemeteries. For those who are interested in this, Ron Clausen is the contact point, and he does have his number at 719-688-5011. He would be glad to answer any questions. And there's also a form that you can pick up at the community building to include your family member if you're interested in having a cross placed at their burial site.
Okay,
And that is all I have.
okay, Jerry?
I just need to remind everybody, I haven't had any meetings yet till next week. Public safety will meet on the 21st of May at 4:30 at the library, and everybody's welcome to come.
Okay. David?
As for me, also, I don't have anything at the moment.
Brett?
Yeah, I don't have anything.
Brent?
I don't have anything at this moment, and Water Advisory Board was canceled for this month, so I probably won't have anything at the next meeting either.
Okay. I will just add that, I noticed that social media is a great tool for the city and the council to work with. There's always a lot of activity. I had posted a comment this morning asking about how can we help support our local businesses, and I was very pleased to see the positive and responses that a lot of people were giving with different suggestions and recommendations and ideas. And I was a little concerned that we'd have a lot of, complaining and arguing and stuff like that, but it didn't happen. So I was very appreciative of that. But mainly the reason why I'm bringing it up is for me, I know as the mayor, I really like to use the Facebook as a way for the constituents to reach out to me. I received multiple messages today they didn't want to talk online, but they wanted to let me know their thoughts. And it's always welcome to do that. Everybody in the community, that's why it's there. If you want to send a quick message, ask a question, give a suggestion, make a recommendation, or, even if it is a complaint, we try to get onto those. We try to keep them documented so that we can get them submitted to the proper people. And I think that happens a lot with all of our council members. Some of the council members have specific pages for them as a council member. Some of them have them as individuals, or some of them may not even be on Facebook. But if they are, I'd encourage you to reach out to your council members and ask them questions. That's what they're there for. We've tried to be more active and more participating in things like the parades and our socials and our Common Grounds breakfast in an attempt to try to keep that conversation going with the community. So please never feel like, and I think I can speak on the council's behalf to say, never feel like you can't reach out to your council member. That's the idea of us up here, is to represent our wards that we do represent and the community. And is that fair to say, everybody? Or?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. With that said, we will move on unless there's any questions or other comments.
I would like to give a big shout out to Dave Zavala and his son, and Andrew Fallon and his son for the great lowrider car show they did at Cinco de Mayo, and an awesome job to the Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah, the chamber did great as well. It was a very, very busy event all day long, it seemed like.
It was good till the end. No, that I know of, there was no issues. Everything went pretty smooth, which it was good.
Great.
Yes.
Okay. So moving right along, we will start off with our new business. We have a discussion on local materials incentive. We had a work session earlier or last month with two individuals. One was with Andy Curry. He's here with us tonight. And we had Brian Herrera. Is that right? And I can't remember who else. Earl was here and maybe a few others. But we had a discussion on a proposal that you had presented to the council. And that gave us, as a council, time to talk to our constituents, do some research, see what we can do before we brought it back to the council for a decision or for any further discussion. So tonight I wanted to open it up in open session rather than a work session to allow, if you'd like to take a couple of minutes to say anything, and then we'll have a discussion and see what we need to go from there. Would you like to speak to us tonight on anything, or? Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I've probably got 15 minutes worth. Is that doable?
Well, since it's a council meeting, can you shrink it down a little bit?
I'll do my best.
Okay. If you can, that would be great.
Okay.
We're just on a time crunch with the meeting itself, so.
There were two absent from the workshop. Did you have a chance to review what all was said?
I did.
Did you, David?
No, I didn't get a chance to. No.
Okay. Well, to carry it on a little bit further, I've done a little bit more looking into things, and I'm going to try and make this as quick as I can. Back in 1972, you're going to wonder what this has to do with now. Back in 1972, we didn't have a hospital here for 2 years. 2 years. There was a time that if you were going to give birth, if you got bit by a rattlesnake, if you broke a bone, had a stroke or heart attack, you didn't have an emergency room to go to. And so, long story short, the county building that we have now is where the old hospital used to be. I was born there. And that was shut down eventually by the Colorado Department of Health. And before it shut down, there was a hospital board that was formed in 1969 that went ahead and bought that hospital from the Catholic Church. And they kept it open for a little bit, but then it got shut down, as I said. And then eventually there was a hospital board of people, one of which who is still alive today. That would be Gene Cruikshank. He was telling me all about it. My dad was on that hospital at the time too, the hospital board. But they did a lot of work, spent a lot of effort to get the hospital going. They went through insurmountable obstacles to get that there because they felt like they needed to take care of the community. And they set us up with this hospital, and they did it for the future heirs. You know who those future heirs are? Us.
Right.
They spent all that time. It took a lot of effort, a lot of courage, a lot of belittling. The Colorado Medical Board squashed them for a little bit because they didn't want them to have anything more than an 8-bed hospital. And the reason was, is they said there were surrounding communities that had other hospital beds and you don't need any more. Long story short, they went to bat. They drove to Denver to talk to them for 2 hours to give them the spiel. We won. And then they had to come up with a way to get money to get the hospital built. Along came, let me look at his name here real quick. He used to own First National Bank, which is now Frontier Bank, Chuck Kendall. A lot of you probably don't know him, but he donated the land to where it is now because he said, in case you want to expand, let's do it. Let's put it there because the original place was going to be where Strainhurst Courts is now. So thank goodness we had that foresight. So my point of that is all these people took it on themselves to be stewards for our community to make this happen for us. And I would argue if we didn't have that, we would be getting our health care in the Hunter right now. So these guys spend a lot of time looking after our community. And it turns out now they employ about 205 people. And if you were to look at their yearly wages they pay, if you took an average wage of $25 an hour, they're putting about $8 million into our economy per year. That's significant. That's what that choice of going to bat for our community did. That's significant. And so my point of saying this is those people stuck out their necks like you guys are doing here. You are in the city council. You have huge, huge responsibility. You are stewards of our community. You are stewards of our economy. And if we don't have an economy, we're not going to have a community. Now, when I started this thing out originally, it was to keep materials bought here to help the town. But it turns out, as you saw from the work session, that it's way more significant to that. It affects the entire town. So when that hospital board made that decision to go through all that, they were on the precipice of disaster for this town for the 2 years minus the hospital. I would argue financially, We're at a crossroads right now for our community. As I said in the work session, we are minus a lot of money, millions of dollars now, that has left our community forever, and you can't do anything about it. It's gone. One of the biggest ones is online spending. I looked at the figures that I got from the city of Lamar, and that's $16.8 million that is being spent out of the community. People buying line, 16.8 million gone. Never coming back every year. You got that, you got Safeway, you've got Farmers Market, and that's all happened within the last 10, 15 years. Imagine what's going to happen in another 10 or 15. I would argue you're in the position that hospital board was. You're on the precipice of a coming disaster. And I would say that now's a moment to look to our future heirs. They're going to look at it like we're looking at it now. How are we going to take care of them? Because this is getting worse. As far as the mechanism to collect money and get it to stay here, the one that I proposed is the only one I know that we got. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's the only mechanism we have to keep money here. And to say that if we do that, where do we stop? I think the question is not that. The question is, where do we start and get this going? So just like the people before us that set up our community and thus our economy, I would argue that that is in your guys' hands, and now's the time to act on that. Yes, it'll help BMS and Home Store, but it affects the entire town, as you saw from all the proof, the scientific studies, the research that I brought up last weekend. Nobody argued differently with me on that. So I don't see any rebuttals against that. So the thing I would close with is I think this is your guys' moment. Embrace it and protect it. The results is going to make our future heirs proud, and we need to take care of them and ourselves now. Are there any questions about what I brought up from last time that I need to answer?
Anything?
I don't have any questions.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right, thank you. So the proposal was made to increase the building permit fee by 6%. Right now, we currently charge a 1% building permit fee on projects through the building department. And the proposal was to add an additional 6% onto that onto that 1%, making it a 7% permit fee. And of that 7% permit fee, you could apply for a rebate to get the 6% back, as long as you can prove with receipts and with documentation that you've bought 95% of the materials within the city limits of the city of Lamar.
We said 9.
90? Okay. Just making sure I had that right. So 90%. So as long as you can show that we had 90% of the building materials purchased in Lamar, you could get a 6% rebate back. It could be very significant when you look at a project like the Cobblestone Hotel, or it could be very, fairly significant for a couple who's trying to get their roofing replaced. But either way, that would give them the opportunity to retain that 6% rebate. Now, we did go through, and I appreciate Andy coming in and talking. I think there's the story you were telling about the hospital district's a little bit different than what we're looking at here from the standpoint of, for instance, you could create a metropolitan district and, get the taxpayers to do and join in on a metropolitan district that would give you the property tax to create an entity for use of those funds to increase revenue in the city limits. That's a different process when you're creating a district, whether it's a metropolitan district, urban renewal district, or a hospital district. There's a certain process for that. This one is a fee that we would be adding on to our regular fees. So that's where the difference is on that. I just wanted to clarify that they're two separate processes to implement. I guess that's what I was trying to get at. So with that in mind, I wanted to open it up for discussion. I know our attorney did some investigating on it as well to see if it was something we could do legally and what are the requirements. I guess I'll turn it over to you to see what you found out first.
Well, and I guess, so essentially you're talking the 6% that was discussed as an additional fee. First, I would say that our fees are always should be based upon what our costs are involved whenever we're including some type of fee. But secondly, I would say, I don't know how you would overcome any kind of challenge to any kind of adopted fee or regulation that would implement this, because to me, it reads directly in violation of the Dormant Commerce Clause, which facially it discriminates against out-of-state business, out-of-area business, and favors local business over any other out-of-state or even out-of-the-area business. And when it's facially discriminatory, then you have to look how courts would analyze that, and they would look at it under a strict scrutiny basis. And that is a very tough burden to overcome to justify why that should be allowed. So I don't know any community that's been successful with that kind of protectionism viewpoint, environmental or otherwise. The only case that I'm aware of that allowed for it was a case in the 70s, and that was really just with hunting licenses where out-of-state individuals, the state can charge more for an out-of-state individual on a hunting license. But that was really the only realm in which I've seen that successful, being able to charge out-of-state, in-state versus in-state citizens more. So I don't see how how taking that step, if the council were to take that step, would not run afoul of the Dormant Commerce Clause.
So the only other option would be to take away from the current fees that we have, which is only a 1% fee.
Well, and you just can't treat different businesses differently.
Okay. Okay, council, I'm opening it up for any questions or anything that you may want to discuss beforehand. And
Can I clarify some things you said? So what you said at the very end there, so what I hear you saying is if we were to approve something like this, we would have to approve it across the board, anybody that asked. Is that correct, or?
Yeah, the big issue with the Commerce Clause issue is that you're treating local businesses that would only receive the rebate, or citizens that bought locally, that they would only be able to get that rebate if they bought locally. So anyone that went out of the area, even within the state or even out of state, they're treated differently because of that.
I see.
And so I guess it sort of defeats the purpose if everybody would have an opportunity to have a rebate for buying materials everywhere. But yeah, these types of protectionism cases are often struck down by the courts.
okay.
Thank you.
So then if we had a business that wanted to come to Lamar and invest in a project, an out-of-state, out-of-town business that came to Lamar, wanted to invest in a large capital project, and they had their own suppliers, their own material suppliers, their own building suppliers, then they would have to pay that additional fee or would not qualify for rebate if something like this were to happen. So then would it cost them more? But ultimately, like I don't say, for example, if you're looking at numbers like a $1.5 million project, then they would have to on that fee then tack on another $90,000
Yeah,
on top of that. Now, would that discourage people wanting to come to Lamar to build, knowing that there was going to be an additional, that would be the first thing. The other thing that I think this argument does have merit, but would be if larger businesses decided to come to Lamar and invest in our community, would our suppliers, our supply chain be able to keep up with the demand for those materials to build such large capital projects? The issue number two. And the third thought that I debated on was also, I agree. I think people should buy local, but there are a lot of things here in Lamar that we can't. So we all have shopped outside. We have all shopped online. And I don't know how the public would perceive going outside of the community to buy items that they can't get locally and not receive, like, you know, if you buy locally, you get some type of rebate, but then if we decide to buy elsewhere, we don't get that rebate.
Right.
You know, it's one of the wonderful things about one of the few wonderful things about large commerce is that you could buy goods that you would never could get before because of large retailers. But then I have a feeling that some people would perceive, and some folks I talked to felt like then we're going to be confined to buying just in Lamar and limited to what we can buy in Lamar. And people, some of the folks that I've talked to don't like the idea of being said or told you have to buy here.
So to put it into perspective, you were just asking the question.
Yes.
On a project like Cobblestone, that's a $7 million project, and I'm just rounding that and guessing it, but if it was a $7 million project, today the building permit would cost you $70,000. If we implement this plan, the building permit for that project would be $490,000. And hopefully they would be able to get back the and that would be $20,000 back if they bought everything here locally. For the average person, if they were going to build a house, a $450,000 house, as of today, the building permit would cost you $4,500. But if this was implemented, it would cost you $31,500. So it could be pretty significant, especially in a situation where they have their own companies that they work with or suppliers. Will that, that was one of the questions I had for Andy was, is that going to detract people from coming to Lamar to build? Why would anybody want to build here? And we, like Andy stated, we don't know. We don't know if it will or not. It's, we won't know unless we put that into place. So it's up to the council to determine, is that worth finding out or not? And this is a kind of a different situation that I've experienced in 18 years that I've been on the council. But we are trying to support local businesses. So I wanted to bring it up to the council and let you all discuss it and give your input, just because I do want to support our local businesses. Personally, I don't know if this is the right way to go about that, but I'm only one of 7 votes. So
Clarifying question, this permit that we're talking about is based off of the total construction cost?
our building permit currently is 1% of the total construction cost of the project, the total project. So it would move it from 1% to be 7% is what it would be.
Okay. So the example we were given by you, Mr. Curry, was for a house, a residential house, a single residential house. We have someone looking at building a residential project with a couple dozen houses. Does that stop them? Another example with Project 1 on Holly Street, there's potential for upwards of 300,000 square feet of new office space between retail, office, entertainment, and transit sectors, whether that's distribution, whether that's transit services for stopovers on truckers. So just on a real quick number crunching basis, the national average right now is 250 to 450 a square foot, depending on the commercial site space, depending on what you're building. If you're building warehousing, it's obviously less because you're not putting as many interior walls and fixtures up. So at $250 dollars a square foot times we'll stay moderate and do 200,000 square feet. and keep in mind, that's probably phased out. You're looking at $50 million to build out 200,000 square foot on the low end if that was all warehousing. So you're telling me that's going to go from a $500,000 to a $400,000 permit. So 50 million times 0.07. I'm sorry, from 500,000 to 3.5 million in permit fees.
Unless they buy all local. Then they
You
would get that.
supply elevators.
No, but you can also, with discretion, work those things out. And also what you're talking about never happened. That's an example that's really out there. It's so big it's never happened.
It's happening right now,
Where's that?
right behind the Cow Palace. I was just out there twice last week, all day Tuesday. What's that?
What is
It's been in the Prowers Journal. It's going to be a mixed-use commercial site. We're already in contact with about a dozen national brands and getting in contact with about a half dozen local entrepreneurs.
Well, that's good. But as far as like elevators and such, that's where I said 90%. We're not saying 100%. 90% for commercial stuff, that can be adjusted. But the safety and use of life, you do elevators and other things. Sounds like you're negating it right off the bat.
That gets me to my next question then, if I
But it
may.
can be, you can look at that and go, okay, well, here's the things this town can't supply, so that needs to be taken out of the equation.
So that gets me to my follow-up question. Let's talk about one of the large buildings on that property, 90,000 square foot. Realistically, if they put an order in tomorrow for their entire scope, how long would it take you to bring all of that material in?
And what it is.
Can you, we'll say, mixed use transit hub?
Depends what material they have to know what that is. Earl can answer that better than me because he handles that.
And it would be hard to go into specific proposals or specific ideas. I think the idea is, do we want to move forward with the proposed concept and try to hammer out details? Or is this something that the council wants to table? Or is it something you're not interested in at all? I think the question is, where do we go from here? We had the work session, we had the presentation. At some point, we have to make a decision whether we move forward with it or whether we table it or do a different proposal or do something else. But I think what we're looking for to give to the staff is direction from the council. What is our wishes on what to do next? And
But what I'm trying to point out is there's not just the cost to the builder, developer, whatever, on that increase in permitting fees. You also have a time cost. And if one of these national brands has their own supplier, they're not going to waste time to try to find 90% of everything they need to build their building locally when they've already spent their entire career sourcing it and having agreements in place with other suppliers.
Gotcha.
So now you're looking at not just the permitting costs, you're looking at opportunity costs. Does that brand no longer look here as a feasible place because of a hindrance in time and permitting? And then typically with those bigger companies, they're also getting deals on different materials because they're buying in bulk because they've got 12 projects across 5 states. So they're also looking at added material cost. And that's something you brought up, that you just can't beat those bulk things that Home Depot's, Lowe's does, or even if they go direct to manufacturer, that's just something that on a small scale is hard for a local business to do, which I understand. I will say we did just buy our new water heater from BMS. Last minute we had to. But because of those multiple factors, I'm not interested in pursuing it personally.
Well, I, for one, I enjoyed the presentation that was brought forth by Andy. And it set me on fire because as a business owner myself, I see some of those obstacles. And how do we keep the money here? And we all are encouraging everybody to shop local and to do as much as we can local, but there's only so much that we can do local. We're kind of limited in some ways. And I had the opportunity, and it's really wonderful how, when some of these subjects come to light and certain individuals would come to my shop and visit with me and I started asking them questions. So I had several prominent business owners come And I had a chance to pick their brain. I said, what do you think about this proposal of this plan? Everybody had the same consensus. You know, it was across the board. They did not like the idea. They thought it was absurd. And I'm not a numbers person. I don't crunch numbers. I like the ideas and I worry about numbers later. And, you know, and so I started thinking about all these other prominent business owners that manage places. And they all came to the conclusion that they just had to be constructive on how they dealt with their own business. And so based upon that, it kind of made me think like, well, you know, I like what I heard, but maybe there's got to be a different avenue of how we can move this along instead of strong arming the citizens of Lamar, Colorado to say, you're going to buy here whether you like it or not. If you don't, then you're going to be charged a lot more money. I think there's got to be a different way to promote this or to do something differently at a safer level to where we don't drive business away or developers away by big numbers like that.
Yeah.
Because at that point, I'm sure whether they're multimillionaires or billionaires, they're still counting dollars.
Mm-hmm.
And I also fielded a few dozen calls, texts, face-to-face conversations, and the sentiment was also across the board that it doesn't make sense. And this was from business owners, contractors. Contractors were afraid that that was going to make them lose jobs.
Right. And I'm not going off of based on my own feelings because I liked the idea. And so I would never do that. But I did have the opportunity to visit with not one, but numerous ones that managed big businesses here in town. And it was all the same across the board. They didn't like the idea. And everybody beat me up on it. Okay, well, if you're going to do that with building materials, then you need to start that with your groceries. And you need to do that with your tennis shoes. You know, because where are you going to stop at, Mr. Gonzalez? I felt like I was getting beat up and I was pushed into a corner on with some of these guys. Like, okay, stop. You know?
Yeah, no, and that is a question, that is a concern, because if we set up a rebate system and a additional permit or an additional fee based upon a rebate system, then where do you stop that? Do you do it with cars? Do you do it with shoes? Do you do it with groceries? Do you do it with, and you know, that's the question of how do you manage that? How do you, because it is a precipice, but it's also a point where we're setting a standard at this point. And if we set a standard to where one person can do it, then everybody should be able to do it. And we'll have people coming in with used cars. What is the rebate we can set up with our used cars or our new cars or whatever it may be? So it is a concern on that end. And it goes back to the, the dormant commerce clause that you were talking about, commerce clause, where you're kind of picking and choosing with the winners and losers, so to speak, of who gets what business. So it is a fine line. It's a very difficult thing to do. I think it's very dangerous. My personal opinion, I did a post today talking about how can we get people to shop local. But to me, shop local is one of those terms that's so, it's almost become a negative because you're trying to control the uncontrollable. You can't control where people shop. You can't control the consumer. You can't control if they decide to go out of town and buy something. We can control what we do. We can control how I run my business. I can control how I represent Lamar. I can control how I present the neighbor who owns a business. I can give them good ratings. I can give them good reviews. I can make recommendations. I can, help support the businesses that are in the community. But I just don't believe that adding a fee with a rebate system is the route to go. So it just depends on how you look at that. But I do think we need to really take this as a serious decision. So I guess if Brad, Dave, Jerry?
Well, I mean, for me, it's honestly, it's too much for the community. And, all these newer construction companies that are coming up, obviously, I mean, I think they'll go downhill pretty quick, trying to do these bigger jobs they're not doing enormous big jobs, but I mean, they're doing, small houses, garages, here and there. But I think it'll just put them out of business. I mean, it'll make it just hard for them to try to finish work up in the city limits and, just trying to buy stuff here. And like Brent was saying, I mean, some materials are hard to get, and sometimes you got to wait 2 or 3 weeks out before anything can come in. I don't know. I think it's just, it'll be too hard for all these construction companies that are here locally even. I think it'll be hard for them.
Anybody else want to add anything? Or?
I had, like Joe said, several people call me too, and I'm like, it hasn't passed yet. We're discussing it, and they were totally against it. It's as it is, it's expensive for everything, but then adding this on, I'm against it.
I do want to say, Mr. Curry, that I do find merit in your argument. There's merit in that. I just wish there was a way we could make it more equitable across the board to all businesses. I know that this is just a first step. So I just want to say that, Mr. Curry, there is merit to your proposal. I just wish that there was a way, and I know, like you said, I'm just trying to wrap my mind around how to make it equitable to all businesses in Lamar and Prowers County, because we do have to know that people do shop in Wiley, do shop in Grenada and Hawley. So you kind of think about them too. I just wish there was some way we can make this more equitable across the board. But I do want to publicly say there is merit to your argument.
Brett, did you want to add anything, or are you good?
Mr. Curry, I've rented from your family and ran furniture stores my whole life. I rented the Kmart building from your dad many years ago, and I sympathize with your frustration. I mean, I asked myself that same question many times. How do we get people to shop locally? I can't support something like this, and I think my biggest reason is what our city attorney is telling us, that it most likely would get struck down by if somebody took it to court. I agree. I applaud you for wanting to do something, because I see the same thing. I see people shopping online every day. I've gotten so frustrated in my lifetime, I don't even want to have brick and mortar stores anymore because of that frustration of how do we compete with, you can sit right in your home and order anything you want. And so you've got hardworking people out there trying to run a business and trying to compete with that. So I definitely sympathize with what you're saying, but I just can't support it in this way. I can't, because it's almost like we're penalizing companies that want to come here and support Lamar. They're wanting to bring projects here, but if you impose something like this on them, I feel like you will stifle that growth that we potentially are in the midst of having. And when, one thing I know, for me, I'm a numbers person. That's how my mind works. And I look at our sales tax and everything up, and our numbers are up. They're rising. They're not going down. Even in the midst of that, even with people shopping online and going out of town and everything else, our sales tax numbers are staying strong. So I think if we keep, building on that growth and bringing in more and more businesses and continuing to grow our sales tax base, I think the future looks bright for the city of Lamar. And that's just my opinion on it. So I applaud you. I really do. And I understand your frustration totally. I, unfortunately, right now, just with the little bit of information that I have, I can't support it. And I apologize for that.
Okay, so do we have a motion on a direction? Do we want to go? Do we want to turn down the proposal? Do we want to table it for more discussion? Or do we want to send it back for further review and bring it back later? How would you like to approach this?
I move to turn down the proposal. If city staff want to look into other opportunities and equitable measures, I'm always open for those being brought forward, but the specific proposal, I make a motion to turn down.
We have a second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any final discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify with an eye.
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Unanimous in favor of?
Okay. And hopefully we can find another alternative that would be more equitable with everybody and maybe cover more businesses that way. Thank you. Okay, moving on. We do have a resolution for stage 2 water restrictions. This was initiated by Tressa Holbert, Mitch Hammis, Pat Mason, Robbie Bedorf, and the Water Board.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, staff, and citizens. My name is Tressa Holbert. I am a wastewater compliance specialist. This evening, I would like to visit with you about mandatory stage 2 water restrictions. Currently, we have some of the lowest precipitation levels that we've had in 132 years recorded history. March was the driest on record. The Climate Prediction Center is advising that drought conditions and impacts could be expected to deteriorate further. The Water Board and our department monitor our current water levels at our wells, and we feel that it is in the best interest of the city of Lamar to go to stage 2 water restrictions. That way we can maintain adequate pressure for fire protection and essential services. I've included in the packet the mandatory water restrictions. Would you like me to give you a short rundown of those?
Yes, please.
Currently, we are under stage 1 water restrictions, and those run from May 1st through September 30th. These stage 2 water restrictions would only allow outdoor watering to 3 days per week based on your address. There would be no watering permitted on Fridays. Odd number addresses would be allowed to water on Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. There would be no watering between 11 a.m. and 6 p.m. Even number addresses would be able to water on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays with no watering between 11 a.m. and 6 p.m. There would be a minimum of 3 hours per property per day, with a maximum of 15 minutes per specific area or zone. Landscaping, flowers, trees, shrubs, and gardens may be watered only during your assigned days and hours using a drip system, bubbler, or handheld nozzle. Adding water to swimming pools, hot tubs, spas, and fountains will be strictly prohibited. Surfaces do not use hoses to wash sidewalks, driveways, patios, or parking lots, or any other impervious surfaces. And car washing would only be allowed if the car is parked on a grassy area and you use a bucket or a hose with the positive shutoff nozzle.
So that would be the new mandatory water restrictions if this resolution would be passed tonight.
Yes,
And that would take effect when? Immediately?
yes.
Okay.
Hence, have you reviewed the resolution?
Yes.
There is one small typo in the resolution. Under restricted days, the odd number addresses, it should say will be permitted to water on Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday.
Gotcha.
Will this resolution also affect city-owned properties?
Yes,
So will that affect our golf property as well?
We will, entities can apply for an exception and those will be considered on a case-by-case basis.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So council, we would need to, now that you've had a chance to review the resolution, we would need to approve or deny it. And that way we can put it into force if we choose to approve it.
I make a motion to approve resolution number 26-5-1 with the change to restricted days for odd numbers being Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify with an eye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Unanimous in favor of?
Okay,
Thank you.
I'd like to have Mr. Latour point something out. I've seen a lot of hubbub on social media about golf courses on the Front Range using water. Can you explain what you explained to the golf board last month about the water efficiency survey that you pointed out with the golf course and the water usage out there?
Yes, because the golf course uses wastewater. They use substantially less than what we use.
Thank you. And it is also non-potable and follows the same restrictions as Mitch has said.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah, it uses non-potable water that you can't drink.
all right. So the next item on the agenda is item number 3, approval of purchase agreement with Concept Signs and Graphics. This was initiated by Colby Brubaker, our facilities manager, but he is tied up with a new addition to his family, I take it?
He is. Baby Liam arrived on Saturday evening, I believe, at 7 PM. So we're excited that he cannot be here tonight. So.
Well, congratulations to him. So do you want to speak on this?
Sure, I would love to. Essentially what we did is we've been talking about the sign at the community building. It's not functioning right now. We've got some competitive bids and with Concept Signs and Graphics. And essentially what we have is 2 options for a 48 by 96, 6 millimeter electronic messaging board. One is a Cirrus brand. One is a Pure Color brand. And so those are just 2 different manufacturers of signs. The Pure Color sign is $31,540. The Cirrus brand is $36,575. They have the same warranty coverage, the same, everything's essentially the same, just a different manufacturer. As a background, Community State Bank donated $26,000 for the purchase of the sign. And so we would need to either look for other funding to make up that difference of either $5,000 or $10,000 to get whichever sign you thought was reasonable.
31,540 minus the 26, is that what it was?
Yes.
So 5,540.
Mhm.
Do you know what the differences is in the signs? Why is one?
It's like buying a Toyota and a Hyundai. It's just a different manufacturer and they have different pricing. It's installed by the same company. It's got the same warranty. It's the same specifications.
So we had the original bid for the Cirrus sign. And on the original bid, they had a $17,000 down, and then we would pay like $4,900 per year for the next 5 years. And when you totaled that out, it ended up being around $45,000, I think
Right.
it was. So I had reached out to this company, who is actually the company who installed the original sign back in 2016. And they give these 2 proposals. One of them is the exact same Cirrus sign as the other one. It's just about $10,000 cheaper. But the other one they've had success with, they just offer it as an alternative. I don't know which one would be better. I did not do the research on it. I just helped to get and I was hoping that Colby would be here to say if he'd found anything different but they were the same warranty, the same information.
Same installer, same everything, just a different brand of sign itself.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's where we're kind of at with that. With the additional 5,540, I don't know, do we have anywhere funds with that? Or, I mean, I could go back and ask the bank and see if they would, since they were sponsoring the sign.
I don't have any. budget anywhere for it. So it would have to come out of parks, probably, or community building, out of their operating, maybe, I don't know.
We talked about the previous one, but it was over a long-term period. It was more expensive that way. So I don't know if that would have been easier to manage or not, the original proposal where it was.
Just made smaller amounts, easier to budget. For the year, we were gonna try to get them to give us a discount by paying the 26 up front, is what worked out. And making yearly payments.
Okay.
Would it be easier to table this and to find out if we can get more funding? And give you an opportunity to go back and visit with the bank or find another avenue to get more funding for this?
So is Mitch, the sign is not, the sign we have now is not repairable.
Correct.
It's
Correct.
not-
It's dead.
It's
Right.
dead.
This bid is only good for 30 days. So we could go back, if we table it and then go back, it could possibly change.
Yeah.
And from my perspective, it's easier to go if we need to find more funding to know what we're asking for or what we need, rather than to say, well, let's try to find more funding, but we don't really know. It'd be nice to get a decision on do we need another 5,000 or another 10,000?
So
And
lock
then
it in and find.
Lock it in, and then
Right.
now we can move forward in finding that.
And we'll have a month or two before they get it installed. So
Right.
we'll have some time to source funding and everything else, but
So the bank's giving 26,000?
they already have.
Already have?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So we already have enough for the deposit on the 31,540, 15,770.
Yeah.
So that's where you said 5540 short.
Right. Yep.
And you'd only be paying interest on the 5,000 if you dispersed it over time, right?
Right.
I mean, that seems like a practical way to me, that then you could also ask for more funding during that time. Is there any pre-penalty for paying it early? Does anyone know? Like if we financed it?
No, we're not financing it. I was saying I would go back to the bank and see if they would donate the additional 5,000 is what I was saying.
But what if they
Right.
don't?
Oh.
But what if they don't, was my question.
Oh, then we would have to find it out of somebody's budget.
And it's my perspective, I'll defer to Kristen, but it's a whole lot easier to find 5,000 in different line items than it is to find 10. Would you agree?
I would agree.
So
is everybody wanting to go with the 31,540? Or do we want to go with the other one there, the 36,000?
I make a motion to approve purchase agreement with Concept Signs and Graphics for the Pure Color LED in the total of 31,540 and allow the mayor to sign.
I'll second.
I would say that's probably a better one, because even if we had to find 5,000, it's only a one-time hit instead of over 5 years, finding it every year for 5 years. So-
Well, and just for example, with inflation, we and another organization sat on it for a month, and the cost for a big project went up 15,000.
Yeah.
So it was like a 25% increase in 30 days.
Okay. Well, we have a motion and a second to approve the Pure Sign.
And that's something that you're gonna check and see if the bank will.
I'll ask, yes. That is no guarantees, but I'll
I'm
ask.
sure they'll do it.
Okay, any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify with an eye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Unanimous in favor of?
Okay,
Thank you.
moving on, we have permission to apply for the Bureau of Justice is this the right one? Yes. Bureau of Justice Rule Enforcement Violent Crime Reduction Grant. This was all initiated by Kristen and Tess and Chief Ritter. Who's speaking on this? Chief?
Good evening, council and mayor. I'll try to keep this brief. This grant application is kind of a very bold and aggressive step, as you can see by the requested dollar amount, to really increase the forensic abilities of the police department, as well as be utilized by the 15th Judicial District, a lot of surrounding agencies that currently don't have this technology. As mentioned before, we have to offset and offsite these requests all the way up to the Rocky Mountain Information Network in Idaho and CBI. So this is kind of the first step in integrating this technology that really nobody else has around. The Lamar Police Department Investigations Unit and the city have been actively seeking opportunities to try to get these capabilities. If you recall, this is the third time I've spoken about this and try to get this technology here. In regards to the actual technology, Celebrite is used by most law enforcement agencies, government intelligence agencies, military analysts, and corporate investigators, and it's pretty much the industry standard. Again, as you can see by the cost, it's a pretty broad and aggressive request. It's for 3 years, and that is going to go past the request that was approved for the donated data pilot last time. So at least to start off with, we can utilize both of them, and then we can move forward with just using this. And it's all encompassing. It's the training, it's the equipment, it's the software, it's the licensing fees. It's everything. So I would just like to appreciate your consideration in assisting us to achieve the goal and kind of become an area leader in getting this technology that really nobody else around here has.
So we're just asking for permission to apply. And if awarded, I would bring back that notice to you and allow the mayor to sign the grant agreement if awarded upon approval of the city
So
attorney.
it's 338,000 for the grant?
And there is no match.
No match. Okay, cool. Okay, great.
It's the best part of the grant.
All right. Any questions from the council on this?
I don't have any. No harm in trying for the grant.
Yeah, no harm to apply.
It would be federal funding and we'd have to follow all the federal rules, but with no match, it's hard to say no.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure with the amount of work that we would have coming in, that wouldn't be an issue either.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to apply for the Bureau of Justice Assistance Rural Enforcement Violent Crime Reduction Grant as discussed.
Do we have a second?
And if received, then brought back for discussion.
Yes, sir.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify with an eye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Unanimous in favor of?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 5 was removed, so we're going to move on to the next agenda item number 5, Animal Shelter Internet. This is initiated by Thomas Sanchez, our IT director. Thomas? Looks like you have 2 internets, right?
Yes, one of them is for the animal shelter and the other one is for the swimming pool. One of them will be, I'll just explain. Currently at the animal shelter, we have for the lack of a better term, a private circuit all the way back to us. It's 5 meg of native Ethernet is what they call it. So we're the only ones on it. And it's at the time, it was about the only thing available to us. So we've had it forever. And recently CCOM, our provider, has upgraded their wireless technology. So now we're able to get, 300 down and probably 50 or 100 up, and which is better than the 5x5 that we have now, probably 20 times. And the price is actually cheaper. So what we're proposing is that we have asked CCOM to discontinue our leg of native Ethernet and replace it with a wireless internet. And then we will put a firewall on the wireless internet and we'll backhaul our traffic from the animal shelter as well as the cemetery back to us over, a secure tunnel over the internet rather than a direct connection to us. And the cost saves us about $34 a month and it improves our speed about 20 times.
Okay. Well, it makes sense.
I see that Lance has attached the Tabor addendum.
Yes.
I'll make the motion to approve the service order and authorize the mayor to sign.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve. All those in favor signify with an eye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Unanimous in favor of?
Okay.
Thank you.
Next item is the swimming pool internet.
Yeah, currently at the swimming pool, we have a really slow connection. It is, I'm ashamed to say it's a 2 meg link.
Wow.
And we don't pay for it. That's why. CenturyLink left it. It's called a left in. And it was plenty when we were just selling cookies, but now we have a time clock. We have 6 cameras out there that also, we loop the scout house into the camera system at the pool. There's other things. We have, we provide Wi-Fi and 2 or 3 other wireless services there at the pool, including printing. But what we would like to do is this would be a new charge to the city. And after talking with the rep that came down to the site survey, they thought they might be able to get 300, but he could guarantee the 100. We also asked Spectrum to see what they could do for us. Sorry, a little side note, Spectrum doesn't serve out there at the animal shelter, but we did ask them. But we asked them about this, and they were including a $1,700 and almost $1,800 charge to bore the coaxial cable under the ground for about the same price. Their speed is better, but I don't know what the ROI is on $1,800, and we kind of need the service now. So, but we did ask, and there's an additional installation charge with them. No installation charge on either one of CCOMs. And to offset this new charge of the $150, we have canceled a wireless hotspot that the rec wasn't using. So that's going to, help offset that, as well as the wireless internet at the fourplex that we were no longer using. So out of that 150, we're going to chip away at about 90 or 100 of it. So it's going to be about $600 a year to provide internet to the pool. Ish. 600-ish.
And that'll give camera access, plenty of bandwidth.
Yeah, the 100 is 100 down and 30 or 35 up.
Okay.
They weren't too confident about the 300 by 50 or 300 by 100. I can't remember what the price package or what that up bandwidth is on the 300.
Okay.
But they did see it, but they couldn't latch onto a signal strong enough. So, but both of those both say the 100 by 30 or whatever I put on there. We're going to try to get more than that if we can. And that's what they are guaranteed.
Okay. Okay, council.
And just so I understand clearly, if you go with CCOM, there's no setup fee. It's just so it's about $50 a month more than what you're currently paying.
Yes. Because right now there's 2 charges on the Rex internet that we're not using. They totaled about $100. This is going to be about $150, but 2 charges go away and we pick up another $150 charge. So to the budgetarily, it's going to be about $600 more a year for the rec.
Okay. Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the service order and authorize the mayor to sign. And it also has the Tabor addendum on it, I see.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify with an eye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Unanimous in favor of?
Thank you.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the Aquaholics lease agreement. This was initiated by Anthony Latour. Anthony, did you want to talk about the agreement?
Yes, good evening, Mayor and Council. I spoke with Taylor Wirtz this last Saturday, and they're planning for business as usual. And we also asked them to provide some concession items. So they're going to research and see what they are going to be able to do this season. And it's the same agreement as last year.
No changes on the legal side, Lance?
Looked like the dates were updated. Otherwise, it looked like the same agreement.
Okay. All right. Council, what's your pleasure?
When do they plan to be up and running? Do you know, Anthony, by any chance?
Yes, they open, Memorial Day weekend is usually when they open.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And it says the lease would begin on May 11th and end on October 31st. So, depending on if it's passed tonight.
So make a motion, we approve the lease agreement.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the lease agreement. All those in favor signify with an eye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Unanimous in favor of?
Okay. Next item is the Parks and Rec Master Plan. Anthony is also working on the Parks and Rec Master Plan, or presenting that tonight. Would you like to talk about that one?
Yes, and I just wanted to first ask if you guys had any questions based off of the work plan that Dave had presented.
No, thank you for all your guys' hard work on it.
Yeah, it was a long process and they did a very good job on it. So I thought it was very good and very thorough.
It's very detailed.
And is it something we can work with GoCo and?
Gonna give it everything we got.
Okay. Were we missing anything that needed to be done or anything else?
I don't think so.
Okay, so basically what we need to do is just approve the Parks and Rec Master Plan as submitted, or recommend any changes or corrections or improvements that we want to go back and resubmit. But if nobody has anything, then we would just need to approve for the records so we can implement it.
Make a motion to approve the Parks and Rec Master Plan as presented.
I'll second. Okay. We have a motion and a second to approve the Parks and Rec Master Plan. All those in favor signify with an eye.
Aye.
Aye. Ooh. That approval. Opposed, same sign.
Unanimous in favor of?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're getting towards the end here. Next item on the agenda is speed camera update. Item number 10, this is initiated by Chief Ritter, and the council had asked Mitch to give us an update, so Chief is coming in to do that.
Good evening again. Well, in addition to the information that's listed there in the background, we really don't have too much of an update. We are awaiting the finalization of the ordinance to be proposed and go through the process of being read and then seconded and then get implemented. We have been pretty much in constant contact with the vendor. They're a great vendor. This is part of one of the reasons why we went with them. They're constantly in contact with us, providing additional ordinances and saying that once we get this set up, they're prepared to come in and get it implemented. He's also offered several times to have a work session to answer any questions before, after, or during the reading of the ordinance. I understand there's probably going to be questions in regards to how this gets implemented as far as, transference of funds and citations and the recording of the data after a year or a certain amount of time to see if it's effective in the current state or if we could move it somewhere else. So there's a lot else that needs to be done as we go through the process, but still currently it's just we're awaiting the finalization of the ordinance to be proposed and begin that process.
So are we looking at only one of them? Is that correct?
Yeah, to start with, we're looking at only one and kind of run it as a test pilot. Part of the reason why we're only promoting kind of one in that area too is that we'd had a data study or traffic study proposed in that area showing the amount of traffic. And given its proximity and already being declared a school zone, we can bypass a lot of state regulations, adding an additional 6 months or a year onto that. Most of the other areas that are on Highway 50 or 287, unless it's a designated park or school zone, there are additional imposition of rules that Colorado has made very specifically for these. So if we can put it up here and kind of give it a trial run, and then we can expand it to at least the two other areas that we had speed studies conducted at that would show the volume of the traffic and see how it would impact in reducing the speeds at those areas. Further along the line, we could also implement not only a stationary unit, but handheld units and mobile units. Mobile unit would be great as one of the areas addressed during the speed study, perhaps on South Memorial or Savage Avenue, or some of the other areas that were at least initially addressed during that. But that's a little bit down the road, and there is a little bit of cost associated with that mobile unit, versus this company doesn't have any cost associated with the handheld units or the pole-mounted unit, which was another reason we decided to go with this company. There's no upfront starting cost, no billing, no back paying, no anything. There's no money that's required from the city, from the implementation on through judging the statistics and seeing if it's going to be effective. So that's where we're at.
So it looks like it was sent over to the city attorney since February 25th, or, I mean, do we have concerns on the ordinance? Or?
Well, yeah, certainly. I mean, like this ordinance is a very big, has a lot of impact on the community, one, but it has a lot of issues with if you run afoul of this language in the ordinance, it can have a lot of consequences, liability out there. And so that was a main concern. I've talked to Chief Ritter about this a couple of different occasions. And when I first initially got it, one of the questions I had is where else has it been implemented in the state of Colorado? So we were able to get that information from the company, able to get some ordinances that I think are comparables to similar size communities in which we are. And so I think that's really helpful whenever we're going to create an ordinance in order to implement this and take this step. And I think I agree with Chief Ritter in his assessment as far as where to place it, because we have a little more flexibility with it being put in a school zone versus just anywhere in the city.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of offset some of that liability risk by being able to have that place there. And so it's at least going to provide us that opportunity. Now, as far as where it's at currently, I've made changes to it. I was working on it this afternoon, seeing that there was going to be a discussion about it. Now that it's clear that council wants to proceed forward, I'm working towards getting that completed. I guess I would expect probably within the next week or 2 weeks at least, or at latest, I would be able to have at least a draft done. I'm hopeful by the end of this week, probably not, but maybe I can have it done by the end of this week. I can get it over to Chief Ritter. He can go through it. We can kind of see what changes we need to make from there and be able to hopefully have it on the next agenda for first reading.
Okay. I think, the biggest question was where we were at with it. It's been a long time since we had an update, so that's why we had asked you to come back, or asked Mitch to have you come back. I think it's fair to go through and just ask for a consensus. Is this a direction the council wants to continue to move forward on? Is getting this implemented?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
So with the direction we've given Chief Fear and now Chief Ritter, trying to get truck traffic to slow down for public safety and make Lamar a community that's known in that industry as somewhere you slow down, I think this is another step in that direction.
Okay, David?
Yeah, I think yeah.
Yes.
Agreed. I'm in agreement.
Yeah, so we're all in agreement that we'd like to move forward with this. So it's not a formal vote, but it kind of gives you the direction that you would need to continue to pursue on it. So if we can, that would be great. Like to see it get implemented sometime soon. So would that work for you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Any questions from the council for the chief on this subject?
I don't have any.
Okay.
Thank you guys for your work on that.
Okay, thank you. The next item on the agenda, and is the Lamar Estate Safety Update. Additional signage that was implemented earlier, I guess it was last week. There was a stop sign that was set up at the Lamar Estates facility, director's advice. And we just asked Chief Ritter to come in and talk to the council about it for a couple of reasons. I think the main reason was it kind of changed a precedent that we had set last year, over the last 3 years, where we've had a lot of requests on different signages throughout the city, where there were accidents. We had wrecks. We had video of a wreck where the person was going so fast on Oak Street that it threw a person out the window and down the street. And when it came to looking at a four-way stop at that location, we were told that by the previous chief that we needed to have a traffic study done. And we had that and experienced that for many, many years because, of course, the precedence is that if you put one sign up at a request of somebody, then everybody in town starts calling and asking for stop signs in front of their house or speed limit signs or yield signs. And without having the data and the actual survey done, the traffic study done, it was hard to justify where we put them. And it looks like there was this one that was put in at Lamar Estates based upon the request, and it kind of threw out our precedents that we had before. Plus, we had just completed and received that traffic study late last year. So after spending 60,000 plus, I think it was, do you remember the dollar amount on the traffic study?
I don't recall.
I thought it was
Offhand, but it
somewhere
was
around
close to that.
60, somewhere in that area.
Mhm.
You know, after spending that much money to try to get a traffic study done so that we could implement these areas, we just wanted to just touch base with you. And was that something that you had looked at or considered in the traffic study, or was that one of the items in the traffic study, I guess?
No, not specifically, because I was aware of the traffic study and I was aware of the 11 intersections that the traffic study specifically concentrated on. And also, as it kind of states in there, that this traffic study wasn't an all-encompassing study, and that as issues arise, it could be handled or dealt with. In regards to this specific location, as kind of outlined there in the background, I kind of considered this the same as an elementary school or a daycare or somewhere else like that, where there are individuals, more of a vulnerable population, that we could help do something pretty quick, pretty easy, and pretty simple to address the concerns. So in regards to, we've got all these school zones that are marked with extra signage because of obviously the traffic and things of that nature. And in my consideration of this, having the facilities director specifically come to me, I do recall being here, again, also 12, 13, 14 years ago, and having the same type of concerns at that time. It wasn't within my purview to address it at that time, so I couldn't. So when this came up again, it kind of reminded me that, yes, this has been a concern for quite some time. And again, in consideration of what we had also done, I guess it's been probably 4 or 5 months ago in front of SDS to include a stop sign instead of a yield sign, to increase the road markings, to put handicap parking zones where they can directly offload the individuals there onto the sidewalk instead of over on the street and then cross back over, and increase the visibility of the SDS clients that walk back and forth to that pier house. It was kind of the same philosophy and the same consideration that I put into effect when considering this. And most of it wasn't based upon just a random intersection, or wasn't based upon some place where, we'd had the traffic study conducted. Because again, I was aware of the 11 specific areas of the traffic study. But the thought process was just to consider if there's a vulnerable population and there's something that is quick, easy, and efficient to draw more attention and have people slow down, then that should be done. I talked to the facilities director, this was last week on the 6th, and he was very appreciative to the city. He noted that he'd already seen a big impact in people slowing down. Residents also expressed to him that they really appreciate it because after years and years and years of trying to have this addressed, something was finally done. So that's my thought process in considering this, the thought process that went behind it, the consideration, and yes, also being aware of kind of the traffic study that didn't specifically address this intersection because it wasn't one of the intersections to be addressed. I didn't have any data to say yes or no. I did kind of look onto a site map of the estimated accidents, in which it notes that 191 out of 390 accidents occur on Highway 50 and 287, or within a block or two thereof. If you're going to note, one of the other areas that is a little bit more saturated is about a block and a half north on Hickory and 10th Street. Mostly that's traffic going southbound, which is going to put that traffic directly in front of the Lamar Estates. And there's also a highlighted area at about 9th and Olive, which is again is the block right before that. So in consideration, this is on an area where there had seen some increased accidents. And again, considering that it's something that's pretty quick, pretty easy, it's relatively no cost. And if we can get people to notice there's a stop sign there's a 4-way stop sign, then the residents feel a lot safer being around that facility.
Well, I think the biggest issue and the biggest concern was when we started receiving calls as far as, well, what about my corner and what about this corner? I've been asking for years. And so I wanted to ask you to come here tonight to kind of explain the reasoning. So that way we have the reasoning to go back to the constituents and say, it's not the same thing. It's not the same situation. No. And if we looked at it from this standpoint rather than just somebody asking.
Yeah, there's been other requests and it didn't express the same type of, I should say, addressing a vulnerable population or a population that may not have the ability to perhaps get out of the way or see what's happening. So there has been some other requests as well as handicap requests. I get a lot of requests for handicap spaces to be put up. And I have to convince that those individuals that if I put up a handicap space, it's not their specific handicap space. It's the community's handicap space. And I found on one occasion, a handicap space was about 30 feet closer to the front door of this individual, and he already had one in the complex. So these considerations are thought through. The area is checked. I go through, I drive for the area, I ask for follow-up. And again, I cite why, who, what, where, and what good is it going to serve the overall population? And is there an expense to it? And also, is there anything that's going to be associated with that data that we have?
Okay. So my understanding in the past has been we use the traffic study as our primary source of making these decisions. And that's what our plan is to do. And that's why we did this traffic study. Is that fair to say, Council?
I mean, absolutely. If I may.
Mm-hmm.
So in 2023, Jerry and we fielded dozens of calls after that rollover accident at 6th and Oak, and we brought it to council. And the compromise was we needed a new traffic study because it had been 20 years. So we all agreed to take bids on a traffic study. Came out north of 60,000 because there was understandable pushback from Chief Miller at the time and Administrator Evans about just throwing stop signs out as the cheap and effective way to try to mitigate some of that. And I mean, you look on that heat map you referenced, and 6th and Oak is hotter than 10th and Olive.
Yeah.
Not saying 10th and Olive doesn't need one, but I think for me, and as I've talked with Jerry, that process leading up to the traffic study and then having an intersection that wasn't identified in the traffic study come out as one that was selected as a request when we had set that precedent was a little upsetting. Again, I completely understand the reasoning, but I think, as Kirk mentioned, we went into this traffic study to identify these areas to look into and work on, and spend taxpayer dollars on. And that ultimately wasn't one of those locations that was identified in that traffic study. So I am curious, I talked with Mitch recently about 6th and Oak. What is the plan? So I also see Parmenter and 2nd as a hot spot in the middle of side streets. So
Well, I can speak to that real quick, and then if you want to, in specific to that intersection on 6th and 7th and Oak that was identified, the speed data there does not suggest any changes. The speed data there suggests that between 74 to 75% of the traffic is the percentage which is called in pace, which is 5 miles an hour prior and 5 miles an hour over. It states that 75% of the speed data collected was between 27 to 31 miles an hour.
And
So even if that
I'm not
were to
gonna
be a
get
big-
debate on it, because you had already mentioned about it being open to interpretation, and there wasn't a study done on 10th and Olive or 10th and 11th and Olive.
That's correct.
But to that same point, we talk about a vulnerable population. You have kids walking to school at the middle school, kids walking to rec leagues at the community building, elderly walking across that street. So I would just like to see, and if you would please elaborate.
And I will elaborate that oftentimes we look at data as the only source. We say, a data-driven decision. I like to use the term data-inspired decision so that we take on the extra stuff that might not be quantified by data. A rollover accident, right? If there's only one, well, but that's worse than the 4 people that just run the stop sign and there's no accident. So when I was out there last week with Pat, what we determined is the stop signs on 6th that are currently there, we're going to add a flashing red light at the top of those. And then we're going to paint crosswalks on Oak going north and south on each side of the intersection. And then those 4 concrete curbs are going to be painted yellow to draw some more attention that this is an intersection for people going east and west on Oak. We will monitor that for about 30 days, 35 days, see if that does anything. We will be out talking with residents in that area to see what have they noticed, because the data might show no stop sign tickets, no accidents, but if people are still ripping through there, then we have other options that we can do. What we don't want to do is create, death by signs or rumble strips or something like that. And now there's a complaint of noise every time a car goes by. But that is definitely that's the primary intersection we're looking at right now on what to do. So,
and that's a lot of people complain about the dips on some of the side streets, but those dips are speed bumps, and it keeps track of a lot of that. But there are certain areas that don't have those dips, they don't have speed bumps, they don't have stop signs, and it's a straightaway, and people take advantage of that when they're late. And I get it, I understand it, but at the same time, we don't want a traffic sign on every corner, because if you have a traffic sign on any corner, then there's no use of having them, because nobody's going to stop at every corner.
Yeah, and the company advised, against that.
Yeah, so I don't think we want to do that, but if we're taking steps and measures like Mitch is proposing, maybe that would be a good alternative, and then look at a four-way or something.
But I don't also, just kind of having been a policeman in this town, I do want to thank Chief Ritter, though, for taking the initiative to protect our elders at the nursing home and the ward that Joe and I represent. I remember this being a problem when I was a police officer around the nursing home. When I worked there as a nurse, it was an issue. So I don't want to discourage Chief Ritter from being able to make these decisions, having the freedom that if he sees it, it's a public safety issue. I know Chief Ritter's not going to put a stop sign at every intersection. That's why we hired Chief Ritter, and have the faith and trust in him to make these decisions for the safety of the people in our community. So Chief Ritter, I want to say thank you for doing this for the elders at the nursing home. It is a concern. It was a concern when I was a policeman 20 years ago. And I just don't want you to be afraid to, I know we did a traffic study, we spent the money on it, but I want to say I have faith in our police chief that if he sees an intersection that needs to be addressed, perhaps there needs to be, either some clarity in the process, either the councilman in that ward need to be informed. Because if you put up a stop sign in that intersection and it works well, let's just take the nursing home, for example. Joe and I are going to be the people they're probably going to come talk to. And we would be more than glad to come to you and say, thank you. Or if we have people in the community that says that was the dumbest idea in the world, trust me, we're going to come talk to you too.
I'm prepared for that as well.
But I just want Chief Ritter to know that, thank you. And I just don't want you to be afraid to, if you see something that needs addressed, to say, no, this, I'm afraid of the traffic study and I don't want to do this in fear of creating.
And Mark, I'm going to stop you there for a second, because I just have to say this. I agree with you. I think it's great that Chief Ritter was looking in advance and trying to think and do the right thing. I agree that it was a good decision on that part. I just think that there is a process to do things. And I feel that the council as a whole followed the process that we were told, which is get a traffic study, spend city tax dollars to do the traffic study, implement the traffic study. And we followed the process to the T. So to make light of it, to the fact that it was good for the city, it needs to be justified to the community, because I feel like the council did what we were asked to do. We followed the regulations, we followed the rules, we did it the proper way. And so it is a little difficult for some of us to go through and say, nope, that was fine, you're good to go. It is one of those things where we don't want to set a precedence of just saying, oh, no, that was okay. At the same token, we went through and spent city tax dollars, payers' dollars of $60,000 for a traffic study, because they said that's what you needed to do to make these changes. So we need to follow that process. We need to follow those rules, and we need to go through those steps. And I appreciate where Chief Ritter is coming from. I understand where he's coming from on it. And I'm not, to me, it's more of we need to come to an agreement to say, when you add these signs, just make sure you go through the city administrator to make sure we go through the process of double checking and justifying it through the traffic study. So that way the council is all aware of the same process. We're all on the same page. and we're taking the same steps in the right direction together.
Well, can I add though, that, and it's just as I'm learning my position on the council, that this happened in Ward 3, and I'm not going to speak for Joe, but I was never involved in this process as a representative of this ward.
Right.
And the people in this ward. And I just would ask that perhaps in the future, that if this were to happen again, that the council members in those wards can be involved in this process. I just ask that.
Yeah. Well, and if we go through the process of having the chief work with Mitch to make sure it follows in line with what the traffic study states, I think Mitch will bring it back to all the council, so we'll all be aware of it. And it's not just the one ward, but it's, everybody in its entirety, and making sure that we go through the same process. That's all I'm trying to ask, is make sure that we have the same process for everybody equilaterally across the board. So that's all.
I'd like to add real quick. I've been a huge supporter of what you've done, taking the ball that Chief here got rolling as much as we can budgetarily. And I will continue to do that. I just want you to know there's an accountability piece here, because we are fiduciary agents of the city's money. And when we're told by a previous chief, which was not your decision, but you have to take that onus as the new chief, that instead of spending a couple $1,000s like was done at Olive and 10th, we have to go through this process to justify it. So we agree, we go out to bids. Thankfully, Kimley Horn gave us a really good deal on an update, because they did the 2005 traffic study. That 60,000 could have been 100,000.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't have been an update, so it would have been more money. So going from us wanting to spend a few thousand on implementing traffic modifications to 6th and Oak, the process was followed at the recommendation of Chief Miller, former Administrator Evans, that we need to take these steps. So then for this to happen is a bit of a slap in the face to me. I'm not upset at you for making a decision for public safety. That is your job. I want you to understand that. This isn't tarnishing our relationship, council and chief of police. But there are steps that have to be followed. And when we're under the impression that this is the step the council needs to follow to justify moving forward, and then that doesn't happen, there's some of us understandably upset. So I just ask that moving forward, you work with Mitch and you work with the traffic study, and you understand what our position is as those fiduciary agents, and why seeing something like this, as well, notioned as it was, can be upsetting. There's that second factor with the verbiage on the post, obviously, the precedent that we all discussed almost 3 years ago about it being a request. And that was another justification for the traffic study, is instead of it being a request of community members or organizations or businesses, it's what data does inspire us and show us. And so the process was followed on our end. We need the process to be followed on your end.
Well, and I think the other part that I did not mention and you didn't mention is that we could have, as a council, just said unanimously and voted to say, nope, you're going to put a sign there.
Right.
But they made a very compelling argument to say we should use the traffic study, we should use this process, we should go through these steps. And as a council, we voted unanimously to do that process, to do those steps. So it wasn't an issue of the old chief telling the council what to do. It was, here's our reasoning, this is why you should do it. So we agreed and we went with it. So when we agreed on it, it just kind of set that as the precedent. So that's all I'm asking on my end as well. And I think I feel the same way. I mean, I love the work you're doing. You're doing some great, amazing things in the community. And this is just a minor thing, but I mainly wanted to convey to the community that that's not the new precedence.
And I guess more communication all the way around is always a good thing, because as you had mentioned, that previous precedent, I was not aware of that.
Yeah. And you weren't here at that time, I don't think. So.
No.
I don't think you have.
Yeah.
And no pun intended, this is just a road bump.
Good.
That's all this is. It's a road bump.
Okay.
And I don't hold it against you either, Kevin.
Well,
because
thank you very much.
You're doing a very good job.
Thank you.
And it was hard every time I was told no. And like Kirk and everybody said, we followed what they asked us to do.
Right. You just got to come into my office and talk
Oh,
to
no,
me.
I won't go to your office.
Or see me outside at a Vail meeting or something else and say, hey, what about
You
this?
know, it was a hard pill to swallow when I seen that, but you did what you thought was right. And
rightfully
again,
so.
like, just talk with Mitch and stuff, and I promise I won't taser you.
Okay, good.
No promises.
In July, when we have that Citizens Academy, I'll hold you to that.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much.
I thank you for.
Thank
all
you.
that do.
Kevin, if I may, I appreciate what you've done. You know, for one, I didn't know about the stop sign until I saw it there on Facebook. Now, yes, we did that traffic study, but it didn't bother me one bit because we all got sent that traffic study by email. Whether you opened it up or not is your problem. Whether we studied it is our problem.
Mhm.
Now, I thought maybe that was part of it, so that's why it didn't create a problem with me. Now, I thought, okay, as a council member, I'm sure that he followed the steps 1, 2, and 3, went with Mitch and then had a conversation with Mitch, and then they both decided, let's do that. You know, and then let's work with Public Works. That's the thought that I thought that took place. And obviously it did, you know, but it was not a spot that was considered in the traffic study. You acted on your initiative, and I appreciate it. And I hope that this little tiny road bump doesn't stop you from future endeavors on what you feel like what you need to do to get your job done.
Appreciate it.
Okay. Okay, any other questions for the chief
I don't have any.
or comments or anything?
I don't have any. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, now this is the fun part. We get to read an ordinance. It's always fun.
I'll do it if you want me to.
220 Holly Street LLC rezoning ordinance, first reading. This is for the planning and zoning public to hear the consideration of the 220 Holly rezoning petition and application materials. So we would need to read the ordinance in its entirety. So you said you would read it?
I'll go for it.
Okay.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Lamar, Colorado, rezoning certain lots 12 and 21 from open estates O-E to commercial C2, and zoning lots 13 and 20 as commercial C2, all of said property generally known as the 220 Holly Street property. Whereas 220 Holly Street LLC purchased the lots 12, 13, 20, and 21 in Forest Park Place, totaling approximately 35.33 acres as set forth on land survey plat recorded May 24th, 2000. At reception number 488769, known as the 220 Holly Street property, herein known as property, and as more particularly described in Exhibit A attached hereto. And whereas lots 12 and 21 are currently within Lamar city limits and are currently zoned as O-E. And whereas at the time of the purchase, lots 13 and 20 were outside of Lamar city limits, but were annexed into the city by passage of Ordinance 1284 on April 27th, 26. And whereas proper application was made to the Planning and Zoning Commission of the City of Lamar, Colorado to change lots 12 and 21 from open estate zone district to a commercial C2 zone district and establish lots 13 and 20 as a commercial C2 zone district. And whereas the applicant desires to develop the property as commercial business and has requested the property be zoned as C2 commercial zone to conform with the development. And whereas the Planning and Zoning Commission of the City of Lamar, Colorado held a duly noticed public hearing to consider the rezoning of property in the city limits and zoning of the annexed property on February 12th, 2026 and April 16th, 2026. And the commission recommended the 220 Holly Street property, lots 12, 13, 20, and 21 be designated as C2 zone. And whereas the city council has reviewed the zoning application and agrees with the commission's finding, and whereas the Lamar City Council has held a duly noticed public hearing on June 8th, 2026, as required by the Lamar Municipal Code, and now wish to rezone the property of commercial C2 zone district. Now therefore be ordained by the City Council of the City of Lamar, Colorado, Section 1, the aforementioned recitals are hereby fully incorporated herein. Section 2, lots 12 and 21 in Forest Park Place shall be rezoned as commercial C2 zone district, and lots 13 and 20 shall be zoned as commercial C2 zone district. Section 3, within 30 days after the effective date of this ordinance, the city clerk shall incorporate the terms of this ordinance on the official zoning map described LMC 30-16 and shall cause a printed copy of the amendment to the city's official zoning map to be made, which shall be dated and signed by the mayor and attested to by the city clerk, and which shall bear the seal of the city. The amended map shall include the number of this ordinance. The signed original printed copy of the zoning map shall be filed with the city clerk. The clerk shall also record a certified copy of this ordinance with the Prowers County Clerk and Recorder. The city staff is further directed to comply with all provisions of Lamar Municipal Code LMC 30-16 to implement the provisions of this ordinance. Did I read that last part?
after we vote.
That's
Do
what I
we have
thought.
a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We
have
also
a
need,
motion.
we also need in the motion that you set the public hearing on the June 8th date.
I make a motion to approve or to adopt to pass, adopt, and no, come on, Brent. Brain's not working. It's a long day. To approve 220 Holly Street LLC rezoning ordinance on first reading and set the public hearing date for June 8th, 2026.
Is that your second?
Yes.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any final discussions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify with an eye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Unanimous in favor of?
Okay. Next item is miscellaneous items. Are there any miscellaneous items that we need to discuss? Seeing none. We have an executive session for discussion of personnel matters under Colorado Revised Statute, Section 246402, subsection 4, subsection F. This is a meeting to discuss the extension of, or the approval of the Mitch Hamas contract. Right, that's what we're going in to discuss. And are there any questions about the executive session? Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second. We have a motion and a second to go into the executive session. There will not be any decisions coming out of the executive session, so we will adjourn immediately following the executive session. All those in favor signify with an eye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Unanimous in favor of?
All right, our next city council meeting is Monday, May 11th, actually, Monday, May 26th at 7 PM. It's on a Tuesday. So we will be happy to have you then. Thank you.